Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. We have a good show on tap for you on this Tuesday. You know, we've been talking a lot lately. Folks call in about, I think when you discuss what's most important to anyone in the community they live in, and there's a lot of things that are important. Number one is that they feel safe and secure, okay? Just that you don't feel you're going to be robbed walking out of a store. You don't feel you're going to be carjacked. You feel safe at home and all of that. Like any big city, we have our share of serious crime problems here. And Nashville, as it continues to grow, and we see it is one of the it cities in the country, we have issues with that. And I think our mayor has decided to take steps, along with the police chief here, to try to address some of these growing problems as we see them here in Nashville. And so that's what we're going to talk about this morning. The whole idea of everything from community policing to what more you can do as an individual. What the mayor has set up is something, a community safety board. It was kind of arranged and discussed as something that would be a reality 2 months ago, and that's when it indeed became a reality. And appointing individuals to this to kind of look at it. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do today, if you would, is give us a call and sound off on your own about what you think the biggest issues are for you where you happen to live, all right? Whether it's road rage concerns, traffic concerns, whether or not you worry about, locking your door at night and someone breaking in, or when you're away. Crime in general is the issue that we're going to discuss today, and just how it can address. And I know many of you watching this are outside the Nashville area. This is an issue that is not just something for the city of Nashville. It's for wherever you happen to live. And what we can talk about today can apply to that one way or the other. So, as I said, the mayor has set up a community safety board. He needed someone really good to head it up. So there is a coordinator for that. And I don't know how or why, but somehow he chose Ron Johnson. Good morning to you, Ron.
Good morning.
It's good to have you on.
Thank
you are good for this position, and it's great. 2 months, right?
2 months and 3 days.
What did the mayor say when he set this up and they selected you as coordinator? What's the goal of this?
Well, the goal more than anything is to know that the city can't do it alone, the police, the community can't do it alone, but we can do it together. And so my job is to see and do exactly what I have been done since 1985, is bring people together, get groups and organizations out of silos, and we do this thing together, because I truly believe that we can be that city that shines on top of a hill by doing what we do together.
You think we have a problem right now?
There's a problem not only here but across the country, and but I think anything can be changed if you're willing to put the effort and the work into doing it.
Yeah. So specifically then, I mean, you're right, coming together, it's something you know how to do. But how on a scope this size? And when we're talking about, you heard me at the open, just talking about the different types of crimes people are worried about. So what's your first step going to be?
Well, what I've been doing is, I kind of been, you know how when your preseason is, guys got to get in shape during the off season and preseason, and so this is kind of what it has been. These 2 months or so, it's just, getting prepared to do what needs to be done, getting to know what people are doing and organizations.
Well, who are you reaching out to? How are you doing that?
So what I've done is just from the connections that I've had before I actually came into this position.
And give people a little bit of your background, just so they know.
I'm Ron Johnson.
Sure.
I worked at Welcome Home Ministries in the recovery field, working with men who are in recovery for the last 3 years. But prior to that, for 10 years, I ran a real program at the Oasis Center, which was young people who found themselves caught up
Oasis
in
is great.
Juvenile justice system. And we had one of the highest non-recidivism rate program of its kind in the country for a number of years. But one of the things that we did there was we brought people together, young people who didn't care much about each other, but because they didn't know each other.
Right.
And so we did that, and I saw it work just with young people. So imagine if we could get the adults to do or think like some of the young people thought or think, we could really do some things. And so I've been on the ground, been calling people, been really reaching out to folks who are pillars in our community and getting them to call their friends. And then, I'm looking forward to getting out and doing this listening tour, but we had to get everything together. So we had to get prepared to do what's next.
Let's talk about then the problems, because you mentioned the Oasis Center, which has been around for a long time and does a great thing with some of these juveniles that are at risk. That's one of the big issues that people, and I see it sometimes. Gosh, I mean, we got 13, 14, 15-year-olds packing weapons, carjacking people. It's almost like there's more of this juvenile crime than adult crime, or there's juveniles, committing adult crimes. That is an issue here. It's almost like it's to the point now where we see some of these stories, they'll see a car they like and they'll think they want to go for a joyride. They'll wait until the individual driving that car goes in, and they'll wait for him or her to come out, pull the gun on him, give me the keys, and take off. And you're lucky if you don't get shot. I mean, we've done all these stories. I mean, and that seems to be a relatively new development. I mean, I know in past several years, but it's almost like a game. Talk about the juvenile crime aspect of it. I mean, for these kids, I don't know if they fully understand how serious it is, what these things are they're doing.
It's amazing that you say it's almost like a game.
To them, that's what I mean. In their heads, it's like, oh, I'm going to steal a car. Let's go for a joyride.
So when you think about it, you got it. All of these are learned behaviors. So think we didn't just come out and be born and say, I'm a robber, I'm a killer, so these things they learned along the way. So where did we learn these behaviors to enact these behaviors? They were learned in so many different mediums, in so many different space. TV, radio, music,
video games,
all of those things. And then when those things are taught to us or shown to us as something that's normal, and then you compound that with poverty, with the lack of and not having all of these things, you want those things, and so the way you seek to get them is to go out and so those are the things that has, I think, programmed them. But if you learned it, that tells me that you can unlearn it. So therefore, we got to get into those spaces to help those young people unlearn what they've learned.
And what, in terms of repercussions, though, I'm with you. I don't like the idea of ever giving up on a young person, depending on the scope and seriousness of the crime, unfortunately. But I mean, there are some, we have a juvenile court judge here who I think is very understanding and tries to work with some of these youngsters, okay, and gives them second chances. There are some who say sometimes, every once in a while with these serious crimes, we don't need them getting out the next day. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, that's really kind of like the way laws and all of, so we have to, that goes all the way up to people who make the laws and legislate these different things, and so that kind of ties your hand. But I feel personally about, someone getting out the next day, that's a tough thing.
Well, there better be someone there waiting to help them, or they're going to fall right back into what they were arrested for in the first place.
See, and those are the things that we kind of run into, is that repeat. They don't really have anywhere to land.
Right.
And that is why I'm looking to try and bring as many organizations. Think about it. If we can help the organizations, there are a lot of organizations out there that are ready to be right there when that young person
And what do you
out.
mean? To do what? Can you give me an example? A lot of people, you'll talk about, oh, we're making these calls, we're getting these organizations. Tangibly, what do you want them to do? Does that mean they're going to have volunteers involved? They're going to set up programs where there's an after-school place they can go? Tangibly, what do you mean by that? What do you want to see if you could make it happen any way you wanted? What do you want?
Oh, so what you want is you want an organization that can address some of the issues. Like down at juvenile court, they have a STAR team. I don't remember exactly what that STAR means, but I know what it does. So the STAR team kind of does a deep dive into what this young person's issues are coming in. Their family structure, father, friends, neighborhood, all of that. And then they try and find the right particular group or organization that can provide some of those things that are missing. For instance, a lot of young people are angry and don't know why. Well, we know a lot of that anger comes from the traumatic experiences they've had throughout their lives. One of the greatest traumatic experiences that a young person has is the absence of a parent, be it father or mother, or be it both being there but not there. So all of those things are traumatic, and so that somewhat brings out those types of behaviors. But there are groups and programs that are out there. Once we're able to get them to come together, because what has happened is most of those groups are working like this in silos, and some of them are doing some amazing things. And so what I believe I have been called or chosen to do is to bring those groups together to be able to create a greater power structure and a greater foundation to say we have groups that don't have to be the hand, the arm, and the leg, but they're going to be a great hand. And then the other group is going to be the great arm, and then the other group, so we're going to be able to create a body of people that can help the whole of that person going forward, where it won't fall on one organization.
We'll go to a break, and we've got some calls we'll take, but other people have tried to do that and failed.
Yeah.
I know, but you're not going to, are you?
No.
Okay, we'll take a break. All of that sounds good, and it's great that we have you just getting started with this, and I sure hope it goes in that direction. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll take some phone calls, more of our conversation with Ron Johnson, ways to make our community safer and address some of the very issues that concern us all. We'll be back right after this.